Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for him.
Yes, it is. It is time for hemp. I am your host, Casper Leitch. Thank you for tuning in to the big broadcast today. I hope you share us with your friends. Don't forget, you can always visit timeforhemp.news and find all of our past programs, free podcasts to download. Woohoo! That's full of lots of knowledge and great music. And speaking of music, there's a lot of free MP3s that you can download that are great songs about how wonderful cannabis hemp is, that you can add to your playlist and take along for the ride everywhere you go. On the program today, we're going to be having some joint conversations with my joint host and some joint friends here. And don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, we ask you to hit your pipes, your bongs, your vaporizers, and take time for hemp. Isn't that right, joint host Al Byrne?
Absolutely correct. Couldn't have said it better. Of course, you've been saying it for 30 years, and you got it down better than I could ever do it. So thank you very much for all those 30 years, by the way.
Well, it's big putting things down in 30 years. You put that on paper, quite a bit of history pertaining to the cannabis hemp movement in this groovy book that people should get, right?
Right. For country and cannabis. Yes, it's full of intrigue, beautiful women, exotic drug parties, government cruelty. It's got it's a thriller. You need and it's true. Yeah. So now we'll move on. But yeah, for country and cannabis, seriously, it's a good book. If you have any interest at all in the history of medicine, how did therapeutic cannabis come to be discussed like it is now? Anyhow, just didn't happen. And the guys that I'm with right now are two of the guys that made it happen. Casper, of course, and the fellow I'm going to introduce, he is Al Graham. He's up in Ontario, Canada. So we are a multi-dimensional program here. Hi, Al.
How you doing, Al and Casper? Always great to be here. It's always fantastic to hear from our guests as the guest that we're going to have today as well.
Well, and thank you for joining our joint chat today. Why don't you tell our audience about some of the joint programs that you like to jointly share up there in Canada?
All right. Yeah. The Pace Radio Network is done in audio as well as in video. So you can call it the Pace Network. If you want to go on the video end of things, we cover cannabis as well as psychedelics. We have a new broadcast that goes out every day of the week, other than Saturday. And on Saturday, we had something called Rerolled Saturdays, where we play everything that we played through the week, plus some other stuff that we add to it in a nonstop format all day long Saturday. You just sit there and watch it. You don't have to refresh your browser or anything.
And I should let your audience know how hard you work. The work you do is very amazing, and you're very diligent in the type of content that you do put out, and you make certain that it's all accurate and very, very entertaining and informative. You do an amazing job up there. So I can tell you, anybody who tunes into your network is going to have a pleasant surprise.
I should let them know they can find us at paceradio.net.
And you said that you brought on one of your joint friends today to join our joint chat, correct?
Yes, I did. Today I brought us a guest who is like many of us, a patient who chose to use cannabis medicinally. As with a lot of us, We do some research, we get educated, and I can tell you, our guest today has been really gone out and got educated, and and she's educating others. Plus, just like a lot of us, she likes to let everybody know how cannabis has changed their lives. People like to speak out, and she likes to speak out about how it helped her, and she's got quite the story. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. So at this time, I'd like to welcome and say thank you to our guest, JJ O'Brien, for taking time for hemp.
Hi, JJ.
Hello,
Hi, JJ.
gentlemen. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a privilege. I'm thrilled to be here.
O'Brien, huh? So you're Irish?
My husband.
Well, good for him. I'm a background of 100% Irish. Very, very
very
proud of
nice.
it. Yeah. So
Yes, his name is Brian O'Brien, and he is right from Dublin. And we have spent a decent amount of time there over the years.
well, good for you guys. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how did you stumble across cannabis first and get involved with it? Was it just for your medicine, or were you one of those wild youngsters who smoked it in your teens?
Sure was. Honestly, my relationship with cannabis started before I was even born, because my mom had a relationship with cannabis, and she might have utilized it while she was pregnant with me. I'm certain she did. So it kind of started in the womb for me. And my mom always had that relationship with the plant, and I grew to have this awareness and relationship with the plant as well through my younger years, and I experimented for my first time when I was 13 years old.
Wow. Can I, before we go further, I'm intrigued already. How did your mother know what to use it when she was pregnant?
Well, honestly, I don't think that she did. She was using it, unintentionally, intentionally. She loved cannabis. She utilized it. I know that she had traumas and things that she was dealing with, things in her life that she was dealing with. So she utilized the plant as a coping mechanism. And back then, it wasn't really something that people were like, you shouldn't be doing that while you're pregnant, things like that. So she just continued to do so. So it wasn't like she was using it medicinally in any way. She was just using it, and I just happened to be there.
Yeah, well, of course, she was using it medicinally. If she was using it for stress and as a pregnant woman,
exactly,
she was doing herself a favor smoking that cannabis. We can talk about that if you want, but it's a subject. Pregnancy and cannabis is nothing wrong with it. Nothing.
No, absolutely not. I met actually Dr. Melanie Dreyer at the Patients at a Time conference. And like the study that she did with the Jamaican women, that was really mind blowing and expanding and opening. And, I never really believed that there was anything wrong with what my mother was doing. And I grew up and,
she was ahead of her time. Good for her.
Absolutely. She was just unintentional.
All right, so you're a juvenile smoker. Not good. Go ahead.
Yes, I did. Yeah, 13 years old. I'll never forget. My first toke was a hot knife of hash, and I was hanging out with some people who are a little bit older than me, so they introduced me to it, and I enjoyed it. And I experimented a little bit for a little while, but then I kind of put it away for a few years, and got back to it again in my teen years when about 18, I guess. I became a regular utilizer of cannabis. I called myself a bit of a chronic back in the day, but did that for about 10 years till the day I got married. Till the day we got married, and my husband was like, I really would prefer that you didn't on this day. And so I didn't.
I got one question. I don't want to interrupt the flow here too much, but you making so many good points that I'd like to emphasize. So you smoked cannabis as a youngster and you put it away. Was that hard?
No, not at all.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to.
It's never really been hard over all the years. It's never been hard to give it up.
Okay. I'll just jump in there real quick for a minute on that. I know that before I went into the military, I smoked cannabis like nonstop, like people smoke cigarettes. Mm-hmm. And then when I entered the military, you're not allowed to smoke anything, really. And you're right, you don't really miss it. It's not like there's a withdrawal. There's not. If anything, you just have more vivid dreams when you're sleeping at night. Mm-hmm. But you're right, there is no withdrawal, nasty side effects. And that's one of the things that I think people misconstrue when they talk about this amazing plant. Now, were you and your mom like cannabis activists as well? Were you learning yourselves about medical cannabis? What was it that made you wake up one day and go, I got to start learning about this in such a way that I can start teaching about this?
For sure. Well, my mom just always, just instilled in me that it was a plant. And, we used to kind of chuckle at the egg in the frying pan commercials back in the day. But for me, like, that was just how I grew up. We didn't have the stigma in our household, and that was great. So I grew up a little differently than most people. And then, but for me, like, I always say I smoked weed my whole life, but I didn't understand cannabis as a medicine until I found myself in this situation in November of 2019, where I got hit with a diagnosis of stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer.
Now, that's got to be just devastating. I mean, I cannot imagine all that goes through your mind when you're being told that by a doctor. And I know you're going to be looking for every aspect that you can hang on to get you down the road so you have a longer life. And sometimes it's not easy to follow your heart to use a plant when you're being told by medical professionals that you need to use chemo or you need to use this type of drug. How did you follow your heart into the right diagnosis and the right progress?
Well, honestly, it comes back to my mom again, because I lost my mom to cancer. She passed when she was 48 years old. I was 31, and she was offered the same prognosis that I was given. She was given like a year to live. Initially, I was given 6 months to a year to live, but my mom died 7 days later. So we were told my mom was given a year to live, and she passed away 7 days later, and it all just happened so fast. And it was a very traumatizing experience for me. And the helplessness that I felt of not being able to help her in any way, shape, or form. Nothing was able to help her. That I just, when I heard the words myself, I was just like, no, this is not happening to me. I am not gonna, deal with the same fate. Like, no, at least I knew that it was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do something else. What am I doing? I don't know yet. But that came very shortly after as well.
Well, so you were emotionally, mentally, intellectually, sort of saying, "Wait a minute, Western medicine is there. I know what they want, and I'm really got to find an alternative to that." Is that the process?
Well, it was more at the time. It was really early, and they hadn't really recommended anything yet. They were trying to get to the bottom of things and figure out the origin. So they hadn't offered anything. But of course, they were talking about it, like radiation. They were using the words chemotherapy, radiation, aggressive, all of these words that I did not like. And I just never sat right with me.
Well, they gave you 6 months to a year, and it's been 7. I take it something's gone right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a couple weeks later. I was in a situation where I ended up watching the documentary Weed the People, done by Ricky Lake and Abby Epstein. It was a documentary about all these children with cancer who were utilizing cannabis, and they were having these amazing transformations. And that was my light bulb moment, my eye opener. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is my medicine. This is for me. This is it. And so I just was off to the races after that. And then the next thing I watched was the Run from the Cure, the Rick Simpson story. And I was off to the races.
So are you still dealing with the ugly of that disease, or is it gone, or what?
At this point, everything is good and clear. I've had some ups and downs over the years. Thank you. Yes. I do take a targeted therapy as well, but that came after the cannabis, because after they did all their testing, after they got to the origins and all of this, they said that I had some genetic mutation and you could take this medication and it might prolong your life for a few more years. So they extended a few more years, not really more than 5 they gave me, and we're over 6 now. So I do that as well.
What was it that led you to have to deal with lung cancer? Were you only a cannabis smoker? Was it because you smoked cannabis? Did you smoke tobacco? What was the deal?
Did not smoke cannabis for since I was married till the time after I had a child. So I did smoke cigarettes. But even still, the doctor said that it wasn't the smoking that caused the cancer. It was this genetic mutation.
So
Yeah.
let's not leave this. You're like to most people that are listening that don't understand like we do. You're a miracle, and you are, and we're glad you're here. Thank you, and thank you for your testimony. But how did you do it? I mean, physically, did you eat it, smoke it, all the above? Did you? Give us some details. How do we survive this?
Yeah. So, because I had a lung cancer diagnosis, I quit smoking cigarettes that day. I was like, take these away. And then I was scared to smoke cannabis in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. But then I learned about the Rick Simpson. So I started eating it. Yeah. I started ingesting high doses of cannabis oil, which people refer to as RSO or FICO, but yeah, just I found some locally and I started taking it. I had a lot of pain over the year that was my symptoms leading up to the cancer diagnosis, because I had all this metastasis in my bones. It had spread to my legs, hip, chest, ribs, spine. And I had so much pain and nothing could touch the pain. They were just prescribing me Percocet and prescribing me steroids, and I didn't want to take any of that. But one week it was just so painful. The week that I watched the Weed the People, that day I had taken 7 Percocets and washed them down with a bottle of wine, and I was still in agony. And I know you're not supposed to do that, and I don't recommend anybody do that, but I was suffering so deeply that I would do anything. And nothing helped. And so I got the cannabis oil, and I took a rice grain worth of cannabis oil, just this tiny little dose, tiny rice grain sized dose. And I took that, and I actually ended up being too much for me. And later that evening, I woke up and I was, it was a little bit too much for me. And I was pacing my kitchen and, a little jittery, but I have experience with cannabis. I knew I was going to be fine. I knew I just had to ride it out. And once I did, I went back to bed. I woke up in the morning, and when I woke up in the morning, the pain was gone, and it's never come back ever since. Like, I've never.
Wow.
Cool.
Wow.
That was the selling point for me.
Yeah. All right. So now you're at what? Your dose is a half a grain every 4 hours, 4 minutes. What?
Yeah, I started doing it, the protocol as prescribed, 3 doses a day, rice grains, and doubling it every, 4 to 5 days as quickly as I could. But it took me a really long time to build up my tolerance. The recommended protocol is 60 grams in 90 days, but I wasn't, and like to take a gram a day, but I couldn't get up to a gram a day for 8 months. But I still had tremendous success with it. Like, it was just the rice grain sized doses that I was taking that was eliminating the metastasis in my bones and shrinking the tumors. That all happened well before the targeted therapy came into the picture. So
that tiny little grain of rice size drop of oil kicked you on your rear end.
It did a little bit, yeah. And
wow.
Because I thought I was a, superstar, thought I was a pro star. Oh yeah, I got, decades of experience with this plant, but I had never tried a medicine potent like that before. Very different.
That's interesting to think that just a little deaky weaky drop can put an adult, full-grown adult,
which can scare people off. They'll get that first really big buzz from the first experience and can scare people off. So as they say, they build up. So it's, make sure that people build up to those.
Look at the result, folks.
Yes.
All right.
I brought my tolerance to about 4 grams a day.
There you go. You hit it. I'm sorry. You hit a patient hit a we call this titration, folks. The individual patient and the cannabis they're using, there's a variable there, all kinds of things. And so that we call it titration. The patient, by patient dosing and doing it slowly and carefully and writing it down, figures out what is my proper amount of cannabis I should take in to get my desired result, but also to remain functional. I'm sorry, Al, I just wanted to get
No
that.
problem. Yep.
Yeah, and JJ did that so well. So you hit your dose level and you stayed on it
for some time, and that dose level has varied over the years as well, but I stayed on that dose, and I was stable and unremarkable, is what the oncologist likes to call you when nothing's moving and everything is staying the same. So I did that for quite some time, and then oddly enough, on 4/20 in 2023, April 20th, I pointed my finger in my doctor's face and I said, prove to me I have cancer, because I felt so good, and 3 years of just nothing showing up on scans, and I was like, I don't think anything's happening anymore. So I said, prove to me I have cancer, and they went, we can't. And I said, okay, well, that's the end of that, and I'm done with all of this. So I ended up really reducing the cannabis and going off the targeted therapy and kind of going off everything, which was a mistake, because I ended up having a recurrence of the cancer later that year in November, where I ended up with 11 tumors in my brain.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So it went from your lungs to your brain.
Yes, lung cancer very often metastasizes to the brain, so that was always a concern. And then that is what happened, and of course it was a shock. So I went back immediately on the targeted therapy and started back on the cannabis oil as much as I could possibly take, and that's where I started on 1 gram, and I was working up to 3-4 grams a day within the first week. Like, I wasn't messing around with it. So I did that, and within 3 weeks, the 11 tumors were 9, and the 9 were 1/4 of the size. And within 2 months, all 11 tumors were gone.
Woohoo!
Oh,
you stay on that oil now.
Yes,
Get off that oil.
yes. Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
Not only did you beat beat it once with the cannabis, but you did it twice. But now you know that you have to maintain that dose in order to keep it away. Because I know 2 people who have had lung cancer. One went the surgery route, and then they went to the cannabis, and they were given 2 years with surgery, and that was 9 years ago.
Amazing.
And then another person who I know, it metastasized down to their kidneys.
Okay.
And,
wow.
Yeah, they're using cannabis.
Yeah, when I educate people about this plant, one of the first things I tell people is, like, before you get into bed with her, it's a lifelong relationship. Like, you need to get comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Maintenance dosing is so important. If it works for you, especially people with cancer, like, if it works for you, you need to stick with it. I mean, Dr. Bonnie Goldstein has said, like, in her experience, that it's like 100% of the time the cancer comes back when people stop the therapy.
Did you trot off to a university and take specialty classes about cannabis, or did you have to invent your own?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I had that opportunity, but here in Canada, the education is very limited, especially on the medical side. You can learn a lot about cultivation and growing, but for me, when I initially started learning about cannabis, it was probably down all the wrong avenues on social media and things like that. So I really struggled to get credible information in the beginning, which is a big part of the reason which brought me to Education. But for myself, I ended up taking a course based out of the US. It was from the Cannabis Coaching Institute, which is now the Cannabis Institute. It was a cannabis health coaching program that I took, and it was amazing. I learned a lot about the science of cannabis, and then I learned about, the coaching side as well, because I knew that I just wanted to make this journey easier for others than it was for me. And I was also very inspired by other people in the industry who had been doing this work for a long time, people that I had reached out to initially, who helped me and inspired me to want to learn more and want to, teach what I was learning to others.
JJ, give me a timeline here. Where are we in the world here?
2021 is when I started the course.
Okay.
Joined Educator. I just celebrated 4 years with Educator on Friday,
Okay.
January 15th or something like that.
Now, is that your website, or is that a team that you're a part of?
This is our website, definitely a team. Educator was founded by Shauna Dunbar, Stacy Boback, and Steph Massey. So 3 incredible women who started this organization. Stacy and Steph have since moved on to other avenues in their lives. But Shauna and I are the executive directors, along with Marianne Lawrence, who is a hemp grower. And we run this organization collectively. And we also have amazing volunteers, a board of directors, and it's a membership-based organization where we have a community membership for patients and caregivers, a leadership membership for other coaches and educators, and then we're just working on launching our professional membership for others like us who work with patients.
All right, now I have a straight up question: is what is your mission statement? Are you teaching people to grow, about medicine, how to research?
No, we're dedicated to providing the highest standard of responsible cannabis education. That is our mission statement. So we're just about getting the stigma-free information out there so that people can make informed decisions on whether cannabis would be right for them, which it probably is.
Okay, but what does that mean? Does that mean how to grow it, how to eat it, what's it mean?
If that comes down to it, but predominantly what we offer is an education session that is a one-on-one where we educate people about their endocannabinoid systems, about cannabinoids, and about the different intake methods. We also talk about legalities, how to get a medical document, how to, register with a LP and things like that. So we're doing whatever the patient needs, really.
It's medicinal oriented.
Medicinal patients. Most of the people who come to us are dealing with cancer because it's kind of been by design, and the fact that there are so many people who are dealing with cancer these days. But as well, we do work with other people and other ailments, and our professional membership is growing. So we have more and more coaches and educators who are available to work with different people with various conditions.
Well, I'm right there. You hit me right in the head. Professional membership. I mean, that's what I went after 25 years ago. What's that mean to you, and how's it going?
We're off to a great start. Educator is Canada's first and only association of certified cannabis educators. So again, we're like an association of coaches and educators working together, supporting each other. And in the professional membership, those are people who are actively working with patients, educating patients. We're working collectively so that we can also share expenses for scheduling, all of the Google Workspace and Meet, services that we need and have to pay for. So we're collectively sharing those expenses as well. Plus, we're just growing and learning together and helping patients along the way.
Okay. I got is Canada, are any of the Canadian Medical Association with an S or Nurses Association with an S helping you in this?
No, we are not medical professionals. We are not nurses. We are not doctors. We are all patients first who have had to navigate our own health journeys with cannabis, and then who have been forced to learn as much as we possibly can about this plant, and then are sharing that knowledge with other people. Like my partner, Shauna Dunbar, who started Educator, she did so because her son, 9 years old, had epilepsy and the medications weren't working. And so she needed to get a prescription for her son. And, that's how it started for her. And she's been working for 10 years in clinical practice with doctors in a doctor's office. They have just recently since taken their retirement. So we're just continuing the work that she has been doing over the years.
Well, I've said this before to Canada. I'm going to say it again. uh, I was a long time ago in the U.S. exactly what JJ was. It was a bunch of patients.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were.
Well, we
Yeah.
have to, because unfortunately the medical professionals here aren't educated and aren't
Well,
aware.
that's where I'm going. You know,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to give you a hand about how to do it all over again in Canada, because we were a bunch of patients and we got together and we convinced the American Medical Association and first we convinced the American Nurses Association, and I would recommend Canadians go there first in what I'm going to say to you. Then once you get the nurses on board, the medical doctors are so scared of the nurses, they're going to get on board.
Mhm.
So now you've got some professional organizations that actually are going to help you with this educational effort. That gives you credibility to let these healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, PhDs, whatever, come to a conference like Patients Out of Time did, where they got accredited education, which is what you are in fact doing without the blessing of the so the guys that are at fault here, Canadians, is your Canadian Medical Association, whatever that is, the big guys, and the nurses are way off. I can't believe that. A nurse's primary duty is to take care of the patients and give them the care and medicines they need, regardless of anything else. So if they're in denial of cannabis being potential, with 30 countries in the world have cannabis in their pharmacopoeia. In other words, medical people can use it. 30, real way back places like Australia, UK, and Spain. So the Canada is in a third world environment here and so I hope you will use my little screed and get a couple of cannabis nurses to listen to the thing and to understand that in the United States there is a specialty within the RN community of the United States dealing with cannabis as a medicine. It's a specialty, like heart nurses and operating room nurses. It's a specialty.
So how
Nurses in Canada, shame on you. Get on the ball.
That's
How
part
are
of
you-
why education exists, so that we can bring some credibility to the work that we're doing and let them know that it is needed.
You need to reach out, and if you have to, you tell them, watch out, we'll send Al after you.
All right.
So how are you canvassing your information into groups like that, like Al just suggested?
Yeah, well, we've done a lot of online education sessions with various organizations, cancer support groups, endometriosis support group. I mean, of course, we're always educating in the wild. Our organization offers continued education for our members. We have our own podcast, ECN Talks, where we're also just sharing the conversations that we're always having, because we always said, well, we should be recording this and somebody should be hearing this. So we just started doing that, like whatever we can do to get the information out there on our social media. And then as well through our Awake and our Awoke programs, our Alternative Wellness Access Center for Education and our outreach education for communities. So that's where we go out and we'll give education sessions to various communities, which I just did here on Six Nations. I just presented to the Six Nations Chief and Council, just speaking on behalf of the plant and kind of trying to build some better relationship there. And so it's just wherever is needed. Education is just there. We're filling in all the gaps that are missing between, doctors and dispensaries and just all of the things. I walk into my oncology appointments with my Dr. Bonnie Goldstein Cannabis is Medicine book, and I put it right down on the desk just so they can see it and hope that it sparks conversation. But when I asked my oncologist, what do you know about my endocannabinoid system, she said, I think I heard of it.
Oh no, seriously. Oh my God, I would think that would be like 101.
Read my book. I'll tell you why they don't do it. Where are you, JJ?
I'm in Ontario, Canada, like Al.
Ontario.
Yeah.
So are you concentrating on the province? What is your concentration of effort?
Well, thanks to, all of this technology, we have the luxury of working with people globally, really. We do work with people internationally,
Oh, good. Oh, good.
like
Okay.
North America mostly. We have, talked with some people in the UK. We are trying to build, expand our network so that we can support people. Access is a huge issue. So always looking for better access for patients as well.
Yeah, good. Well, that's nice. I was just, our folks want to know. Yeah, and not to be to beat it to death, but having your Canadian medical nursing community not paying attention is at this state like you saw Casper's reaction. They don't know what the endocannabinoid system is.
Yeah.
That was discovered in Indiana at the University of Indiana in 1988.
Well, and I'm
88.
a non-medical individual, and I know about it. So you would think
Yeah.
that, right?
You would hope somebody who's responsible, for your life is aware of the most important system that controls all the other systems of your body. Like, it just feels
You
like
would
a
hope,
It's
no-brainer.
yeah.
just not taught. It's not
I
taught
know.
to them
I know.
in
I
schools.
know.
It's like I know somebody who became a nurse a couple of years ago, and they said they had a very small little section that they talked about cannabis. It was all over and done within a day. Like,
And it
was
all
just-
comes from a harm reduction lens. Like, it's all
Yeah.
mostly a negative viewpoint about it as well.
Now, the question about your team, as far as I'm at your website and you have a team here listed. I see at the bottom you've got a science officer, chief science officer, a doctor.
Dr. Uwe Bleshing, yes. He wrote the Cannabis Health Index and THC CBD ratio. I know I'm butchering the title, but yeah, Dr. Uwe Bleshing, he's fantastic. He created Cannabis. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. It's this incredible cannabis-specific research tool, cannabis.com, and Education has the coupon code, because it's an incredible resource. And Uwe Bleshing is an incredible human who's so generous with his knowledge and information, and has been so gracious to honor us with his presence at Education's offerings of our Friday speaker series, where we bring in, experts to come and speak about whatever topic about cannabis. So Dr. Uwe Bleshing comes in once a month, and he keeps us up to date on the latest research and shares some of his resources as well, because he has created some incredible written and digital resources.
He sounds like a guy we want to interview.
You
I
should.
thought
He's
too.
incredible. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I was
sure.
thinking the same thing, Al.
Yeah, well, that's a
name.
great resource. That fellow's a great
Well,
resource.
and I got to say, I am surprised because Canada, from my perspective, was leading the way. I mean, long before America was growing hemp, Canada was growing hemp. Long before America was having medical cannabis, Canada was having medical cannabis. They have an industry. The government throws money into it. Your Canadian tax dollars help to fund some of it. I would think they would have brochures about how wonderful it is and brochures about medical aspects of it. It would be out there cheering it on.
Yeah, they really dropped the ball on the whole education aspect after legalization happened. It was really a political move in part, and then it was done, and then it was just like, okay, here you go. And then everybody just turned around and walked away. So although we've been federally legal here in Canada for 6-7 years, it's still not all it's cracked up to be. So I always say to my US friends, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, there's always it's never going to be perfect. We're always going to have to keep asking for more and demanding more. Because Health Canada doesn't even recognize it as medicine yet. So
JJ, are your patients, people you're educating, are you giving them? I'm sure you are. I want to ask a question. Are you giving them the various modes of use? You can eat it, you can smoke it. It's a topical. It's a food.
100%. Yeah, very important to let people know the various intake methods. And, a lot of people who come to us have never had experience with cannabis before, and they
Oh.
need to, understand the ways that they can utilize it. A lot of people are fearful of the side effect of feeling high or intoxicated, and they want to avoid that, which can be done. So we often direct people, to other modalities like suppositories, where they can utilize high doses of THC and not feel intoxicated.
Can I stop you again, please?
Of course.
Yeah, it's the second time in 2 sentences you use the word intoxicated.
Mhm.
Is that what they think happens to them? It's
I-
intoxication to the average American. I've had this discussion for decades. It means you're drunk.
Yeah, well,
And-
I don't love the word high. I don't love using
don't
the
either.
word
I
getting
don't either.
high. So, I mean, and there's also the distinction between intoxication and psychoactivity,
Right.
and where, THC is the intoxicating one, and where CBD is not intoxicating but is psychoactive. So that's
Yeah,
why
but
I tend to use
see
that
right
language.
there, if you're talking to me, an American, and you just said intoxicating, every time you say that, I think I'm laying in a gutter somewhere puking.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Well,
it-
it's that Canadian language, they have
no, it's
Well,
what
better
we,
translators.
it's what we need to discuss often. That verbiage makes a difference.
That's
And
like
so I'm just saying intoxication and all of that. No, what I like and others in the field like is to say something like when you use cannabis, there is a state of relaxation, of a
Yeah.
loss of anxiety, and
I
it's
love that.
not something that feels bad. It is good.
Well,
I
I
love
guess
that.
I'm going to have some because I'm having anxiety now because we're down to the last couple of minutes and we've got to say goodbye right after we've just said hello. So, JJ, Al, why don't you put our website up there on the screen so people can see it? JJ, now tell us in English this time so people can find it.
Yes. Please find us at education.info or jjobrien.com.
Oh, and there's your doc. Okay, yeah, we need to talk to this fella. Sure.
Yes, Dr. Bleshing, cannakeys.com.
Now that I see his name written out, I recognize that name. Yeah, he's been a very
And
influential.
there's the website again.
Groovy.
Yeah, amazing.
And it really has been a joy to have you on, and I'm really glad that you kicked cancer's butt.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And Al Graham, why don't you let people know about the Pace Radio Network one more time?
Yep, you can find paceradio.net is our website, and we talk about psychedelics as well as cannabis.
And Al Byrne, I know people would be interested in finding your groovy book.
Yep, anywhere you can buy books for country and cannabis. You'll read about Patients Out of Time and Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access, organizations that changed the face of medical cannabis in the United States.
And I want to remind people that if you go to timeforhemp.news, you get all kinds of free downloads to share with your friends. You'll also find us on iHeartRadio, and you'll find us on iTunes, and you'll find us on BitChute and Rumble. And we're all over the internet trying to let the world know how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp. Throughout Earth's history, Hemp has been used, no mystery. Hemp was legal to pay your taxes for more than a century. Check your faxes. The founding fathers make sense to me. It's time to grow hemp legally. Think of all its uses. It's money that's well spent. Right now, no excuses. It's time for hemp. Sustainable green industry, that's our intent. A better place this world will be. It's time for hemp. Fuel and food and clothes and soap, housing, cars, yeah, cars, no joke. Henry Ford built a car of hemp. It's time for us to do it again. People be employed with balanced farming as it's meant. Right now, it's time for hemp. Hemp is a true necessity for the wealth and protection of this country. These are words of Jefferson Thomas. He grew hemp, why not us? It's time to lift the hemp ban. It's time to lift the hemp ban. Yes, we can. I know we can. We can make a difference. Yes, we can. Yes, I know we can. We can work together and lift the hemp ban. Look at all that money. Yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation. Yeah, it's time for hemp.